When this man woke up, he turned to look at the beautiful girl sleeping next to him. He discovered that there was a QR code on her back. Out of curiosity, he took out his phone to check. Then he received a message that surprised him. At this time, the girl also woke up. He looked at her with wistful eyes. After all, what was in the QR code that made this man so surprised? This man's name was Jiang Zemin. He was a director. He had a very gentle wife named Han Lin. Although they had been married for 5 years, they still had no children. However, they were still living very happily together. That day, Jiang Zemin had to go on a business trip for a month. On the day of the wedding anniversary, he couldn't return to his wife. But Han Lin also sympathized with him. She helped him prepare his luggage and reminded him to take his medicine every day. After preparing, Han Lin saw her husband off on a business trip. When the husband's car had just left, Han Lin's face suddenly changed. She took out a card with a phone number and made a call. After sitting for a long time on the plane, finally, Jiang Zemin also arrived at his workplace. He rushed to find a hotel to rest. When he was about to go to sleep, he heard someone outside ringing the bell repeatedly. He approached the door and found out that it was a very beautiful girl. He assumed this was a prostitute. Jiang Zemin was a good husband, so he would absolutely not accept this kind of service. He didn't care and went back to sleep. But the doorbell kept ringing. The noise made Jiang Zemin feel very uncomfortable. He opened the door and then told her that he didn't need this service. But that woman called him her husband and dragged her luggage into the room. Jiang Zemin hurriedly closed the door to avoid the attention of people around, which could cause unwanted troubles. In the room, Jiang Zemin coldly looked at this woman. Meanwhile, she considered this as her home, and she was extremely comfortable. After that, she wore a sexy pajamas and kept calling him, honey. She even pushed Jiang Zemin down on the bed. Early the next morning, Jiang Zemin received a phone call from his wife. He wanted to explain to his wife what happened last night. But his wife said that the girl was sent by his wife. Hearing that, he was very surprised. Han Lin said that girl was her clone, and told him to try scanning the QR code on the girl's back. Jiang Zemin took the phone and carefully scanned the QR code on the girl's back. Then he received a message saying that this was a product ordered by his wife. This clone of Han Lin was exactly like his wife both physiologically and physically. So Jiang Zemin was also a little less worried. He went for a walk with his wife's clone. He was surprised to discover that his wife's clone could drive. However, his real wife didn't know how to drive. After that, they went to a restaurant, and he found out that Han Lin 001 could eat seafood. He realized that his wife had specifically established his preferences for this clone. Because he liked seafood but his wife was allergic to seafood. So for the past few years, he could only pretend not to like seafood. This clone 001 was able to realize that he was missing his wife, so she put food in a bowl for him. She even sweetly called him, honey. Just like that, the two of them began a business trip like a honeymoon. After work, his wife's clone was always at the hotel waiting for him. The two of them talked and enjoyed the scenery romantically. That night, they went to a small bar. His wife's clone stepped onto the stage to sing him a love song. Seeing this, Jiang Zemin was also very happy, and even took out his phone to record it. Just like that, a month quickly passed. The two of them hugged each other tightly in the bar. They couldn't bear to leave each other. At this time, Han Lin 001 drank a lot, so Jiang Zemin carried her back. When he was taking the last pill, he suddenly received a phone call. The Good Wife service package has expired. If you feel satisfied, you can press 0 to keep her. We will recycle the original wife. If you are not satisfied, press C, and then the clone will be recycled. Although the clone wife was perfect, after thinking carefully, Jiang Zemin still chose his real wife. The next day, when seeing Han Lin 001 sleeping, he couldn't bear to leave. After getting in the car, he also looked in the rearview mirror. He saw Han Lin 001 being taken away by two men in black. But Jiang Zemin didn't stop them. He heartbrokenly told the driver to drive away. On the way back home, he watched over and over again the video of his cloned wife singing to him that night. He really didn't want her to be recycled. However, he still loved his real wife. And no one could replace her. After returning home, he discovered that his wife wasn't at home. He immediately called her, but she didn't answer the phone. Then he saw the note his wife left him. Husband, remember to take your medicine. He always listened to his wife telling him to take medicine. But then he found the letters on the table. There was a letter that caught his attention. It was a letter from Hawaii. He even found out that the person who sent it was himself. Suddenly he felt dizzy, and then fainted to the ground. At this moment, two men in black came in and took him away. In the car, he saw a horrifying scene. His wife was walking with another man. And that man looked exactly like him. After waking up, Jiang Zemin found himself in a room. There were so many men and women, there was even a child inside. Then he discovered his wife's clone in the corner. Jiang Zemin was staring at her, but she just smiled and shook her head at him. This was the short film The Wife's Plan. Jiang Zemin's wife designed a clone of herself to serve her husband. In a month of staying with his wife's clone, he still chose his real wife. But in the end he was taken away by a group of people in black. If you met someone who looked exactly like your wife, but her interests and personality were completely different from your real wife. Moreover, she was even better than your real wife. So would you choose her or choose your wife? Actually, the scariest thing for a man was to make a choice. But in the movie, Jiang Zemin was extremely determined to choose his wife. Because his temporary feelings in a month couldn't replace the love he had for his wife for 5 years. Meanwhile, the wife was very gentle and warm at first, but as soon as her husband left, her face changed. After that, Jiang Zemin returned home, and was taken away by people in black. Because his wife abandoned him to choose a better clone of him. Or maybe he was just a clone. And just a replacement for the real husband. The movie comes here. Thank you for watching.